You know, sometimes you build an aquascape and it just doesn't turn out the way you envisioned it in your mind. Meet the Riverscape. This raging river idea looked great in my mind, but it just never developed the way that I wanted it to, and so today we're going to rescape it. Now, I had a bunch of footage saved up with updates on how this thing got along and how it was progressing, and then it all just went to pot. So the aquarium did kind of get off to a good start. However, it never developed really the way I wanted it to. Now, some of the problems I have with this aquarium is one, the AC pond pump that I used. The noise has gotten a little bit better since it's got some biofilm and stuff in there, but you always have this low hum and it drives me nuts. The other problem I have with it is we don't really have much swimming space, and of course the plants up top didn't develop very well. Let's get a closer look at the aquarium so you can see where it's at now. So here's the Riverscape as I see it, and you can tell that the color palette here is just kind of mundane and drab, right? Just kind of gray. And that's because the plants that I have in here are about that color as well. It is, well, it's just kind of a light gray green kind of grass that we have here. Speaking of grass, it's about the only thing that ever really grew in this. We've got the mondo grass here. It's a cool little plant. I'm going to reuse it in the scape here, but all we have is just kind of a grassy area with a little bit of hydrocotyl tripartita that I managed to salvage and grow in there. Down below the water line here, we've actually had some pretty good growth. The S. repens is, well, it's growing, but there's no soil or anything in here. The Anubias, of course, is going to grow. And there's a little bit somewhere around here, there's a little bit of Monte Carlo. So we've got that as well. But overall, the issue that I kind of have is there's very little swimming space for some of my new favorite fish. I love these white cloud mountain minnows. Focus on the white cloud. Come on, buddy. Will you focus? There we go. I do love these. Looks like that one's pregnant. But, and they love the water flow as well. You can see they love to zip around in the water flow. And before somebody says, well, they really don't have a choice, they do. Back here in this area, it's very calm. And if you come all the way around to this side, there's a hiding spot. As you can see, one of them right now is resting in this low flow area. But they're a river fish anyway, so they do enjoy being in the flow and they're always zipping around playing. And it's a fantastic tank to sit and watch. I do really enjoy the fish. I'm just not digging the aquascape. We have way too many rocks in here and not enough water. Now, with all that being said, it's rescape time, and step one is going to be to get the fish out of there. There's 2 hillstream loaches that you didn't see, and 7 white cloud mountain minnows. I've got a 5-gallon bucket that I'm going to put them in with their water. I'm going to try and save and reuse as much of this aquascape as I can because it is stable. It's got bacteria on it. The aqua soil is what it already leached all of its ammonia. It's settled in. So we're going to reuse a lot of stuff in here. And that will allow me to just put the fish right back in when we're done with the scape today, or in this video. Okay, you can see I've got the tank all clean here, and I'm ready to start rescaping. Now, one would assume with the failure of the first Riverscape that I would make a simpler aquascape in order to make a better aquarium, right? You're wrong. I'm actually going to try and do something a little bit harder. What I want to do is a more terraced kind of setup, and I want a waterfall this time. Okay, so that's kind of the plan, and to prevent this video from getting just stupid long, I'm going to just show you the stages as I'm building it. No time-lapse stuff and fancy music and whatever like you just saw in the beginning of the video. What I'm going to do is kind of get one of the stages done. You'll be able to follow along just fine. And I'll come back with you guys and show you kind of what I've done, what the plan is for the next spot, and then do the next stage, and so on and so forth, because it's going to take me quite a while to do this. So I'm going to jam out to some music and get stage 1 done, I think, and we'll be back. Okay, update number 1 here. We've got kind of a rock structure in the corner that's going to hide this pump and be the basis of the waterfall. So what I have here is a top rock that will be removable somehow. Hope this all doesn't come crashing down. There we go. Top rock will be removed, which then gives us access to the pump. These will all be epoxied in place with some aquarium epoxy, so they should hold. And I have enough room, let me bring you around over here. I have enough room to get in here and get the pump filter off, and then I can go and put it right back on there because I have enough room to reach down in the hole. So what I'm going to do is get these epoxied in place, and I'm going to be using Flourish epoxy here. I've been using this stuff over the paper towel and super glue method. I just kind of like it a little bit better, and I think it's a little stronger bond. So I'll be back once I figure something out here and get the waterfall kind of functional. All right, the base of our waterfall rockscape thingy-majigger is done. We have used the aquarium epoxy here to fill in some of the gaps so that the water will run kind of down this area here and not just fall behind the rock. I'm still going to have a bunch of stuff to work on here, but this is just the basis. Also have ample room still for our filter. You can see I can get my hand in here just fine. I have cut to length my tubing here, so we have our little output, and handy enough to adjust the flow right up here on the top. Well, I'm turning the whole thing right now, but you get the idea. You may be thinking to yourself, well, that doesn't look like one little shelf of rock. Well, here's a little capstone, and this thing is going to sit in here like so, and that will kind of cover everything up as you look at it from the front, but also give me the availability to just grab this stone and take it off, so it'll just be able to sit there without the rockscape falling down and discreetly hide our pump. Okay guys, this is live and uncut, unedited. This is the first time I'm going to fire the pump up. I think I have the flow control all the way to off or 0. We're about to find out though. All right, well, so far so good. Hey, look at that. It's working good. So I should be able to just adjust however much water I want to come out of here, whether I want some trickly noise, or if I want to turn it down for the night, or if I want like a raging waterfall. Yeah, it's going to work out pretty good. Should be able to adjust kind of where it's going here. I'm thinking this is pretty good. If I can fill in this area and make it so that the water stays kind of on this side, or maybe splits and comes over here, I'm not quite sure. Of course, I'm going to put a top rock up here to cover this up. Okay, I'm going to keep playing around here and get this water to behave the way I want it to for the most part. Controlling water is pretty difficult, but once I get that figured out, we'll move on to Terrace number 2. Okay guys, after extensive gluing and pasting and toilet papering and all kinds of stuff, we finally have it where I think it's going to be a nice waterfall. So the first thing you'll notice here is that I've filled this whole area in with crushed aqua soil and super glue. That makes it like rock hard, but also I'm hoping waterproof so that the water runs down over this rock. I've added another rock here, and you can see I've added these rocks up top, but I can still get a hold of my little adjuster there. Now, I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up with the lighting here, but from the back side, you can see I've filled in all of these areas with filter floss. So we have this all stuffed full of filter floss, and that's going to prevent our soil from running all the way back here into our filter chamber. All right, after fiddling around with it for a while and getting a longer hose on the back here, I'll show you real quick. Maybe a longer hose right there, a little outlet hose. Now it's not splashing on the back of the rock, so we have a nice smooth water flow. We're filtering and we're silent. That's the way I like it. I like my aquariums quiet, but it's going to be nice to hear, or not hear, see just a little bit of water movement. Of course, we're going to put some terrestrial moss right up here and all kinds of stuff coming up. But check it out, my first ever waterfall build. Oh, let me put my little capstone back. I had to make some adjustments here, so I took my capstone off. There we go, little capstone. There we go, my first waterfall. What do you guys think? All right, let's work on the terrace here. Try and get this thing wrapped up. Okay, Aquasoil Terrace update here. We've got a couple of rocks already installed here and glued. I've got to fill this area in here, but I have an idea for that. I'll show you in a second. Sorry for the water spots on the glass. Here is where our aqua soil is going to go. All the way, just filling this in here will be a planting area for rooted plants. Phew, what a build. All right, got a little bit of wood in there. Got a really bold piece here in the front. I'm not quite sure it fits, but I do like it. And we got some roots just kind of hanging over there just to soften that edge from the rocks. And this piece in the back looks really weird right now. But let's get some aqua soil in there and it should all come together for you. Okay, traditionally you would go ahead and continue doing like your lower area here. I think I'm going to do gravel down here. I'm not quite sure yet, but I'm going to go a little unconventional. I'm going to start planting. I'm going to get our grasses and stuff planted in here and just kind of see how that's looking. I'm going to have to fill it up and turn the water on though, because I don't want to, block our waterfall with all the grass. Some of these plants are pretty tall for the waterfall area here, and I don't want to hide that. So We may have to change our plants up just a little bit, but that's okay because we're rescaping the whole thing. So whatever I don't use, I can plant out back. What's that? You say you want to see me do the planting? Well, all right. Due to past comments, people want to see me put plants in dirt. So let's time lapse it. Okay guys, we've got the Mondo grass planted here, and whatever this golden something is here, some kind of golden rod or golden aquarium plant, can never remember the name of that thing. But it seems to grow better immersed than submerged, so we're gonna keep it in there. Right now we just got some Mondo grass, and I'm trying to think, well, what else could we put in this area? Don't worry, I will be dropping the water level here, so this won't be flooded underwater. It's just easier to plant when the aqua soil is underwater. So I'm thinking, well, what else can I put in there? Because, well, nothing really grows immersed very well. And then I thought, you know what grows really well around here? Weeds. And my backyard is pretty much just a weed farm. So I went out there and I looked for some interesting plants because you can actually get some pretty interesting looking weeds. So these Florida native weeds are gonna go in here. The reason is because I wanted something nice and low. Let's show you. Okay, the first weed we have here is weed number 1. Obviously, I have no idea what the name of these are, so if you are some kind of weed horticulturist, is that the right word, horticulture? I think so. But if you're a weed connoisseur, well, that sounds bad, doesn't it? There's a lot of weed connoisseurs nowadays. You let me know if you have any idea what plant species some of these little weeds are. And I don't even know if they're gonna grow in aqua soil, but we're gonna give it a shot. What's the worst that happens? They were free. These little guys look pretty cool though. I don't know if I should try and tweezer plant them. I guess so. I guess we could grab the roots and kind of stick it down in there, just like any other plant. I don't know how fast these things grow. I don't know anything about them. We got a different type here. It's just a little more wrinkly leaf. I guess we'll put wrinkly leaf weed right in the middle here. All right, looks good. See how it's kind of filling in this area though? That's what I wanted, was just some ground cover essentially. I don't want anything too high. It just won't look right the way that this aquascape is coming together. Keep in mind I had zero idea what the heck I was actually going to do in this aquascape other than I wanted a waterfall. So now that we kind of have something coming together here, we have to improvise. And I think this low ground cover is just actually going to be perfect. And being that this is just a regular old yard weed, I guess, it should take to aqua soil. It should take to, I don't know, a lot of water. My backyard is sand pretty much, so if it likes that, it should like pure water, I guess. Man, I forgot I got this kind of grassy looking weed here. This guy here, not quite sure what it is, but it looked pretty cool, so I picked it. Just kind of different texture. It's kind of dry, but we've had a drought here for a couple of weeks. Let's see if we can get it to recover. I don't know where we'll stick it. Maybe just back here would be a good spot for it. It kind of has like one main root and that's it. So we'll just stick it in there and I don't know, we'll see what it does. All right, there you go, buddy. Get in there, take root, do weedy things. I don't know, have fun. And then I found a couple of these like little viney looking kind of ground cover weeds. I don't know, look like baby lily pads. Figured I could intersperse them throughout this ground cover here. Maybe they'll do okay. I don't really know where I'm gonna put them. This guy here, he's got a root on him. Maybe I can stick them back here. They'll look okay. What else we got here? We got this little lily pad looking one. I guess we'll just kind of stitch it throughout the area here. Doesn't need to be planted really deep or anything. It just kind of, these roots will maybe find their way down into the aqua soil. I don't know, everybody will just fight for survival here, I guess. Get in there. It's kind of like planting hydrocotyle tripartita, which I have here as well. That I expect to go into the water though. This one I expect to stay up top. We'll see what happens. Another little piece. Stick you down in here, I guess. Let me get this textured leaf in here. It's a little bit different. They look pretty cool actually. So hopefully they'll take root and grow in. Now, got one last little step here for our terrestrial plant, and that's gonna be a little of this terrestrial moss that I got here. Really bright green, very compact. It's just kind of sitting on top of like a pad of sand. but I figured the sand would take great to super glue, and we've got moisture right here with our little waterfall. I think these guys would look pretty good sitting right in here. So I'm gonna, I don't know, figure out some spots to put this stuff. I'm gonna give it a rinse real quick though. Yeah, there we go, that looks pretty good. In fact, I might get some more moss just later on and put a little more kind of on this rock, maybe coming down this way or some in here. Actually, I've got an idea, hang on. I've got a cup of weeping moss that I trimmed out of another tank, and with constant water flow, I bet you this would grow. So I'm gonna turn the water off and super glue some of this in. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Got our little waterfall. You can still see the trickling water, but the moss is breaking up the flow a little bit. It should stay nice and moist. So even though it is a submerged kind of aquarium moss, we'll see if it grows. I mean, it was free. I trimmed it out of another aquarium, so it's not like we won't have more if it dies. And I don't really want to kill it, but maybe it'll creep like up over that little wooden stuff. It might look cool. All right, so all we got to do now is just kind of fill in this area. Now my plan is probably a mix of sand and gravel just to make it look a little more natural. Even though the gravel is going to be off color, you'll see here in a second, it might be okay. I got to fill in this front area here just a little bit just to try to keep the hill stream loaches from going back there and getting trapped in our little filter compartment area back here. So the gravel that I'm going to be using here is this stuff, and while it looks, well, a little bit lighter than the Aquascape, it doesn't really match the color theme, but I think it's going to look okay. And I've got some cichlid sand as well to kind of mix with it. Boy, that's kind of a bright Aquascape, isn't it? But I like it. I mean, I'm digging the bright gravel and sand contrasting the dark stones. Besides, once we get a little bit of surface algae and this tank settles in, all of that gravel will kind of mute down a little bit as far as its color goes. Now, all we got left to do here is put our Anubias back in, and we've got some S. repens, and we've got some Monte Carlo. So we're going to put this stuff sporadically around. Some of it's on stones, some of it isn't. I'm going to get this stuff kind of in here. This is a very shallow water aquascape here. Some of this is going to be really good. Oh, that's going to look good right there. But we have to keep in mind that some of these are on rocks and stuff, and they may start growing immersed, and that's fine. We'll kind of see how it settles in, but there's lots of good bacteria and a little bit of algae on here, so the hill streams, they'll be able to have some stuff to eat while this tank settles in again. All right, there we go, guys. Shallow stream has been planted. Now, I understand that a lot of you are going to be concerned with how thin the substrate is here and the fact that I just kind of stuck these plants maybe a quarter of an inch down into some sand and gravel. There's no nutrients, there's no aqua soil, there's no nothing. Once we get some detritus in there again and kind of a little bit of nutrients from this aqua soil, it will break down that aqua soil and it will kind of, you know, disperse itself under the substrate there. I'm also going to fertilize it with liquid fertilizer, and all of this stuff here is epiphyte style plants. I mean, you can grow Monte Carlo with epiphyte style. You can grow S. repens epiphyte style, as I've just proven, and of course Anubias. So we should be good to go. It might be kind of cool once this stuff carpets in, and I would imagine this Anubias might be poking out of the water here pretty soon. Speaking of water, let's go ahead and get that water back in there. All right, I've got all of their old water back in there, which is just a little bit cloudy, but it's their parameters. They'll be fine until it clears up with the filter and some filter floss. It's time for the inhabitants to go into their new shallow stream. So from Riverscape to shallow stream, let's get those guys back into the tank here and finish up this video. Alright, it's pretty cloudy in there from the new sand and of course putting their water back in there. Let's go ahead and let this clear up and then we'll get you some final outro shots. All right, it's been about 2 weeks, guys, and I've got a surprise for you. First, let's just kind of take a little peek at it here. You can see now the gravel has gotten a little algae on it, kind of looks a little more natural. We've got really good growth on, well, on our floaters here first. You can see all the floating plants there, but the moss is going really good. The tripartita is kind of growing through it, looking natural. All of our terrestrial weeds here from the backyard, they're just doing great. They're having a good time. I put a piece of cardinal plant in there and it's decided to grow. And our moss is just doing awesome. You can see a little bit of algae and natural look on our waterfall here. I like it. I'm going to leave the algae there, not scrub it off or anything. Really just kind of looks natural to me. Let me get you on down here to water level and show you the surprise that we have. Let me see if the camera will pick it up. Can you see all those little blue dots swimming around in there? All these little blue dots are baby mountain minnows. So one of the females, she decided to lay eggs, I guess. I don't know if these are live bearers or not, but it's hard to pick them up on camera. They're really small little guys. Let's go over here and see if it'll focus. There you go. This part of the aquascape, you can see them a little bit better. I don't know how many we got in there. Probably at least 30, maybe 50. But they're kind of all over the place. Been about 2 weeks and they're gonna survive. I'm really surprised that when they were teeny tiny, a little bit smaller than they are now, these mountain minnows didn't eat them. So good parents and I don't know, good friends, I guess. Those that aren't the parents, they didn't eat the fry. Now I have been feeding the tank pretty heavily as well, just to make sure that the adult fish are not hungry. Now the hill streams, they're in here, but they like to hide back in the corner here, or at least one of them does. Let me see if he's back there now. Yeah, right back there he is. You can maybe see him hanging on the glass. The other one likes to hide most of the time up under this rock right here, but I don't see him right now, and I haven't seen him for a while. He might have snuck through this crack down here. Hard to see. Camera doesn't want to focus. There we go. He might have snuck through this crack and back into the filter chamber. I'm not quite sure. I haven't seen him, but I haven't really looked for him either. So he might be back in here somewhere. So all in all, I'm really happy with the way that this turned out. Due to the structure here, the water level is a little bit lower than I would have liked it, but the minnows don't seem to mind. Obviously, they're breeding, so I guess they're happy in there. And the hill streams could probably use a little bit of flow, but maybe I'll put a little pump in there or something later on. Let me know what you guys think about the build, and that's it. That's going to wrap up this video. If you want to support the channel, you know all the buttons to hit, and I'll catch you guys on the next build.